Hello once again everyone, it's me Kessler. How's your day or night? Mine's going pretty alright. But enough of that. I'm doing yet another tier list. This time, it's more One Piece. But, we're not doing anything TCG related. No. I'm simply doing the arcs for the anime and manga. And most, not all, but most of the filler arcs. And just give my own personal opinion on them. Some of them may be different from yours. Some of them may be the same. I'm gonna wholeheartedly say that right now. And everything in this video is strictly my opinion. If you like an arc that I say is mid or trash or anything like that, it's like it's your favorite arc in the entirety of the manga and anime, and you will live and breathe the fact that, oh, blah 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 arc is perfectly amazing. That's fine. But this is my video at the end of the day, so my opinions are my own. So anyway, let's begin with the what do the tiers here mean? Goated explains itself. It's a goated as fuck arc. Really good is we're the same side. Suggests it's a really good arc. Alright is that middle section kind of arc, you know, just middle. Mid is, mid, not that great, but also not bad. Just mid. And trash is just the bottom of the barrel. Just terrible. Terrible. So anyway, let's get to it. Starting with Romance Dawn. The one that started it all. What the name of the manga was going to be before it became One Piece. Oda already had Luffy's character design made in. Nami had blonde hair at one point in the Romance Dawn manga, which eventually became its own little special. But it's not in this tier list, so I'm going to say that right now. Romance Dawn has a very early arc, the very first one. You know, we get introduced to Luffy, Shanks, the concept of devil fruits, Zoro, Haki in the form of Shanks scaring off a sea beast after it bites down on Luffy. We've just got a lot introduced here. And well, as a very beginning One Piece arc, I'd say it's really good. If nothing else, just a really good start to this manga. So yeah. Also right here, ignore that. It was gonna be in its own little spot for the Three Brothers thing, but I didn't realize that post-war arc was literally just the Three Brothers backstory as well, so ignore that. Alright, so nextly we got Orange Town. And we get introduced to the GOAT himself, Buggy D. Clown. The best character in here, and one of my favorite devil fruits, the Chop fruit. A lot of people like to say this arc is not good, or at the very least mid, but I think it's just good in the fact that it introduced a second devil fruit. It introduced a second devil fruit. It showed a much more evil antagonistic pirate in Buggy, Because Alvida was just, she was fodder. You know, she was just meant to show that Luffy can do all this stuff. But Buggy, he was different. It also showed us that Luffy's hat reminded Buggy of Shanks. Because you know, the hat was Shanks at one point. He just gave it to Luffy. It had angered Buggy. And so we get a little bit of backstory with Buggy and everything. I think it's really good for what it is. I put it in really good. Just because of all that. Yeah. Don't like that. Didn't see that coming. But it's the truth. It's how I feel. The next up is Syrup Village. The arc everyone says is absolutely trash. But people forget that there is some good to this arc. We get introduced to Usopp. We got the Going Merry, for God's sakes. And I honestly think Kuro's not a bad villain. Do I think he's a dipshit? Of course. Of course. But Oda was still writing characters. Give me 1 second, I want to turn up this music, so let's go back to my screen. Give me 1 quick second. 1 quick second. Had to get some tunes. Be just a little bit louder in here. Sorry about that. Now back to your regularly scheduled One Piece tier list. There we are. Yeah, we're back. Anyway, like I said, I think Kuro's an alright villain. Django is hilarious because he's literally just Michael Jackson with his moonwalking and his power of hypnosis. God's sakes, the man hypnotizes himself. It's funny. And also, in this arc, we get just a bit of Usopp's backstory and how he does what he does because his mother's sick, and if I'm not mistaken, he does it to cope. And also, hypnotize Luffy just ripping off a part of Kuro's ship will never not be funny. But Kuro is kind of a stupid villain in that he just screams his plans out loud. But it's not terrible, it's not bad, it's an alright arc in my eyes. It's alright. I like Kuro though. Please Oda, do something with Kuro, please. You made the live action version of Kuro look good. Come on. Your writing's been improved over this 20 plus years. Give us Kuro's grand return. But anyway, next up we got Baratier. Baratier, introducing us to Sanji. And also subsequently giving us Gin. And introducing us to the strongest man in the East Blue. The golden hockey man himself, Don Krieg. And also this arc is what gave us a Zoro's first fight. Him versus Mihawk. And man, Mihawk's introduction was just cold, man. Taking down ships like that? Just sit on a puny ass little raft with some candles? And him being a goal for Zoro to achieve, to become the strongest swordsman. And impressing Mihawk so much that they asked for Zoro's name. And Zoro vowed he will never lose again. And this music's a little bit too loud for my taste. Uno momento, por favor. Uno momento. I think I got it? Yeah, I think I did. Alright. Back to your regularly scheduled tier list again. We got Sanji's backstory. Well, at least the first piece of it. If you know, you know. As such, with all these factors, it's a goated ass arc for a reason. It's perfect. Love it. An almost perfect arc. But speaking of perfect arcs, Arlong Park. The arc that single-handedly made me actually give a fucking damn about Nami. Because before this arc, I did not like her. Not in the slightest. I thought she was just unlikable. Her only character trait, it seemed, was, grr, I hate pirates. But then we see the actual reason as to why in this arc. Arlong is a piece of shit. He literally took over an island, just a nice innocent island full of villagers, you know, Kokoyashi village, Nami's home, and said, yeah, if you don't pay your tribute, you're gonna die. We got shown Bellemere, Nami's backstory, we saw the death of Bellemere. This was a really good arc, and this was, if not mistaken, the very first time Luffy actually really put up a fight. Literally destroying all of Arlong Park. Giving Nami his hat after she pleads for help, and literally saying, after all this rubble and destruction, Nami, you're still my friend. This was such an emotional arc, and it is literally one of the only 2 arcs in this entire series to actually make me cry. Yes, this was one of them. And also we got Hachin as well, so woohoo! So goated arc as fuck. Now we move on to Logtown. Now, Logtown did a good few things. It reintroduced Buggy. It made Alvida into an actual character. We got introduced to the Walking L himself, Smoker. We got introduced to Tashigi. We got introduced to the concepts of cursed swords. And that Zoro got it. Let's see. Oh yes, the podium where Roger was executed. This was the town Roger was executed in. Oh yeah, we also got introduced to Dragon. Mr. Looking East himself. And probably one of the only few things he's gonna be doing for a while. Hope you liked him, just freeing Luffy from, almost being killed by Buggy. Because, well, he doesn't. And just as more of a setup arc for the Grand Line. And just introducing more enemies. And the concept of Sea Prism Stone with Smoker's soul-bladed weapon he has. It's an alright arc. I think it's neat. I enjoy it. And now we get the first cover story arc. One Piece's anime doesn't do much of the cover stories nowadays, but way back then, they covered as much of the cover stories as possible. And this one, it's all about Buggy getting his body parts back and reuniting with his crew. It was a goofy little story. It was goofy. Just a little limbless buggy meeting Gaimon, almost getting eaten by birds. Just a tiny little man getting to see his crew almost getting eaten by some cannibals after they fought to see who would be the new captain. It was funny. It was funny. I liked it. And it was alright, though. It gave us it showed why Buggy appeared in Logtown with all his limbs, and why Alvida was with them. So it's alright because of that. And now we get our first filler arc. Warship Island. The arc that was meant to be a movie, but they decided to turn it into episodes. The arc that gave us this annoying little girl right here. What was her name? Was it Apis? I think it was Apis. And the idea for this arc was not bad. Heading off to an island to take this old dragon man home. And we got ourselves a new Navy Admiral shown in there. And this little side lackey guy who has admittedly a pretty cool devil fruit power to be able to cut into wind and use it to his advantage. But my fucking god, she is so annoying. All she does half the time is scream. Eventually this was written as a novel by Oda? But no. I shouldn't have to read a novel in order to decide whether an arc is good or not. This shit is trash. Get this out of my face. Good god. I wasn't even happy when I saw her in the actual card game. Her or that Twig Boy Navy guy named Eddie. I remember his name because of his devil fruit power. Although it did give us one of Luffy's rawest beats he did in there by literally slicing a warship in half. Oh my god, that shit was intensely crazy. But that was literally the only good part of that arc. That was literally the only good part out of this. I don't even remember how many episodes. I think it's like 12 episodes? But all I know is that this arc trash. Garbage. And now we're moving on to another bad arc. Reverse Mountain. Laboon. Crocus. The log post. We get the name Laugh Tale given to us by Crocus. We learn that Laboon is waiting for someone to come back to him. And just because of all that, we also get our first tiny little taste of Baroque works. And because of all that, absolutely goated arc. There's only a few episodes, but goddamn, they were a good bunch of few episodes. And the fact that Crocus lives inside a whale. And nextly, we got Whiskey Peak. More of Baroque works. Goons appearing, including 2 undercover agents, Ikaran and Vivi of Alabasta. And admittedly, probably a really cool devil fruit ability from one of Baroque works. I forgot his number, but it's the guy that shoots, that flings boogers to explode as little bombs because of his devil fruit power. It was called I think it was called the Bomb Fruit. I don't remember. But hey, this was also the first case of racist Zoro. The first sign of Zoro's racism appearing. When he was crushing that one woman but just squeezing her face. Just one arm races Zoro's first strike. And also gave us probably one of the funniest scenes ever. A stuffed Luffy getting into a fight with Zoro. And the best version of that scene will always be the 4Kids version. Just because it's so just funny. Zoro's screaming like Luffy's about to kill him. It's beautiful. It's beautiful, I tell you. But as an arc itself, it's more meant just to start setting up Alabasta. So at most, it's alright. And now we got the cover story that's known as Kobe and Helmeppo's Glow Up. How Kobe goes from this tiny bean-headed idiot, and Helmeppo being this spoiled, obnoxious, Karen-haired brat, to just the Giga Chads they are. Plus we get an introduction to Garp. And we see Kobe and Helmeppo just train their little hearts out just to get to where they are. Helmeppo sees his father is literally trash. And we get some good character interactions between Kobe and Helmeppo. They become the best of friends, they do. And Helmeppo actually gets good character development. And so, because of all that, it's really good. Now, Little Garden. Little Garden. Dory and Bragi. The first introduction to Elbaf via a name drop. Get introduced to even more Baroque Works members in the form of Mr. 3 and that one girl who just draws stuff with paint and emotions happen. I forget. I think it was Miss Doublefinger? What was it? I think that was her name. It wasn't All Sunday because that's Robin. Miss Wednesday? Anyway. Mr. 3 was actually kind of a menace in this arc. Not gonna lie. And also we get our first introduction of Sanji as Mr. Prince. As a setup arc for more Alabasta. And as a name drop for Elbaf. Which we're going to in November in the manga right now. So, yeah. This was a really good arc. I liked it. And now we got Drum Island, Chopper's arc, Dr. Kureha, Wapple, Huralook, Cherry Blossoms. Chopper was introduced as a human-hating, except for Dr. Kureha, individual. All because of what people would call him. They call him a freak and a monster because of his blue nose and his double fruit power. Just grew to hate humans except for Kureha and Huralook. Huralook was pretty much his dad. The death of Huralook was with his famous speech just being all silent within it. And Chopper coming back, and I'm going to put more music on. Excuse me, I have music on, so this right here is the last time we're doing that. And excuse me while I reset up the music. Get a bit get it froze a bit. Buffering, if you will. It's buffering, if you will. It's buffering, if you will. Whatever. Whatever. We gotta continue this list. I got things going now. So. There we go. Okay, this is the last one. Anyhow, again. Chopper also gets introduced as emergency food, and that seems funny. Early Sanji and Luffy were chasing him around the castle. That was funny. Kureha was also throwing weapons, like axes and swords and shit at Sanji and Luffy. That was funny. That stuff was funny. And Wappo's not a very good villain. Not a good villain at all. That's just, I'm evil. I rule this village, this kingdom. Excuse me. Haha. Anyway, and that ending with Chopper joining the crew with his crying and everything. Goated arc. And now we got Alabasta. And I'm gonna tell you this wholeheartedly right now. People love this arc, and for good reason. This arc was the very first sign of power creep, like real power creep in One Piece. Luffy literally getting beaten twice. What's it 3 times? I think it was just twice. By Sir Crocodile. We got introduced to Bon Clay, the best character in this arc. We got introduced to Robin. We saw more turmoil. We saw the turmoil in there. It was pretty much a war arc. It was a very, very political arc. And Crocodile is a absolutely amazing villain for early One Piece. Or in this point, just pre-time skip One Piece. Just one of the best villains in the series in general. But I was never the biggest fan of this arc. I know, that's weird, but my big dumb brain not good enough to comprehend the politics in this arc. But the thing that really makes this arc good is the fight. It's the whole turmoil and conflict in Alabasta. And just the whole ending sequence with the fights against Baroque orcs while the war was going on. Vivi literally begging everyone to stop fighting. But there's also some fake outs in here. A la Pell's death. That was never his death, even though he blew up with a bomb. That was Oda copping out right there. This arc is good, don't get me wrong. It's a really good arc. But I don't think it's this goated amazing arc like everyone is saying it is. At least to me. It's just not one of my favorite arcs. But I do appreciate this arc a lot. And as such, it's a really good arc. And also Usopp just redirecting that one Baroque Works attacks back to Miss... What is it? Miss Merry... No, it's not Miss Merry Christmas. That's, I think, 4 Kids. Yeah, that is 4 Kids. Let's forget the rounded lady with the gopher duck food. And now we got Uruluka Island. Or as it's better known as Rainbow Mist. It's filler, but it's not good filler. Somewhat, it's okay. It's not good. It's mid. The only real notable part of this arc is that it led into Skypiea, or at least starting it, with the ship sinking from the sky, falling from the sky. And fun fact, in the 4 Kids dub of One Piece, this was the last arc to play. And the last scene was literally the ship falling on them. So in 4Kids Land, everyone died. Everyone in the Straw Hats died. The end. But anyway, next up we got Jaya. And Jaya... Jaya's actually not bad. We got introduced to Bellamy. We got introduced to Mont Blanc Noland. The little monkey guys. We saw Luffy beat the fuck out of Bellamy. We got introduced to Blackbeard, who is literally the opposite foil of Luffy. And his whole dreams will never die. Oh, that was so good. And how Zoro and Luffy can tell that Blackbeard was not a normal individual. And probably has multiple personalities with his whole phase scene. So in the end, just because of all that, I mean, I personally like the arc. Because of everything I just listed, it's an alright arc. It's pretty alright. Now, we move on to Skypiea. Skypiea. Ooh, excuse me a minute. Move on to Skypiea. The arc that the most uneducated of One Piece fans will go off and say, "Oh, it's filler. You don't need to watch it. Don't skip Skypiea, man. You don't need to see it." No, fuck everyone who says they don't need to watch Skypiea. Don't listen to those people. You watch Skypiea. Skypiea is one of the most important arcs in One Piece. Because, literally, in the cover story with the villain Enel, it's literally foreshadowing everything that's going on right now. And also, this arc did a lot of good things. It introduced us to observation hotkey. It introduced the Shandorans. The concept of Sky Islands. Hi, how you doing? Gave us Ultra Instinct Luffy. And now going to the moon. And also, it introduced the concept of Joy Boy by mentioning the Sun God. And the fire, while everyone was dancing at the end, you see Luffy doing the Sun God Nika pose in his dancing. This is literally one of the most important arcs in pre-time skip One Piece. Just one of the most important arcs in general. And not filler. Also showed us more poneglyphs. It did a lot of things. It's a goated arc. And if you're watching this, watch Skypiea. You better do it. And now G8. The best filler arc in One Piece. Literally everyone feels in character. If everyone feels like they're in character. And it's the one arc that people will tell manga onlys to watch. Like, this is the one arc that manga onlys will get told to watch. It's just that good. The antagonistic villain in here, I think it's Captain Johnson. He's not even a villain, he's just the guy doing his job. And like, the Straw Hats being on G8 was such a good thing for them. He was glad they came down on here. Because I actually trained some of his Navy soldiers. And also, we got the birth, the introduction of the almighty, the amazing Condorione. One of the most powerful One Piece characters ever. Just because of that by itself, it's goated as fuck. And now we got into Long Land. The arc everyone knows is canon, but we'll consider it filler. This arc introduced us to not just Foxy or Afro Luffy, but at least if I'm not mistaken, that could have been in Jaya. We got introduced, I believe, to Kuzan in this arc, if my memory is serving correctly. And Luffy getting humbled the fuck by him. No way, I think that was in Jaya. Yeah, I think it was in Jaya. Discord what I said then. But this arc, I like this arc. It's such a fun arc. Foxy is such a goofy villain. His double fruit is crazy. The slow fruit, and the way he utilizes it is so creative. But also this arc gave us Afro Luffy, which is Luffy's most powerful form since Water Luffy. And as such, because of all that, and also just that final battle against Foxy and Luffy, which I think is peak, I think it's an alright arc. I don't think it's trash like a lot of people say. I think it's an alright arc. Like, I literally think it is. If you don't like it, I understand, but hey, this is my video, so what I say goes. And then nextly, we got... Well, I think this arc was also the first instance of Zoro getting lost. Anyway, next up we got onto... Water... The, what was it called? Water Stream? The arc where all the Straw Hats get amnesia. Fun fact, this arc was actually an adaptation of a PS1 game of the same name, with one of the worst opening theme songs to any game I've heard in a long time. If you want to watch a whole plot of a One Piece video game in animation form, and go crazy. But I got so bored watching this. This shit is trash. Fuck this greatly. Hoo hoo. Fuck this arc in general. Ugh. Now we move on to a duology of amazing arcs. Water 7 and Enies Lobby. Water 7 is the start of what is known as Nico Robin's arc. This arc introduced us to Frankie as well, into Iceberg. The whole entirety of Galley Law, including Kaku, Khalifa, and Rob Lucci. This arc was also where Luffy and Usopp had their fight. Or Usopp and Sanji, where Usopp and Luffy had their fight. And you can say what you want about that fight. Usopp's a little bitch. Usopp's a piece of shit. You gotta realize something. Usopp was at his lowest point at the time of this arc. He'd got his ass handed to him by the Frankie family, the money stolen, and he walked in right as they were talking about selling the Mary. Usopp didn't hear the entire context of it. Now, I understand you disliking Usopp because of this arc. I completely get it. But the arc... But with Usopp, he didn't get the context of it. He just didn't know why they were getting rid of it. He just thought they were getting rid of it because they didn't like it anymore. And so Usopp challenged Luffy. And it's just, that's literally the reason. And Zoro's like, if he wants to come back, he'll say sorry. But also, like I said, this is the Nico Robin arc. The Nico Robin duology, if you will. Robin leaves the crew to get taken to Enies lobby because she thinks she's a worthless monster. She thinks that no one likes her. She wants to die, she said. And we also get introduced to the assassination group in CP9. Cypher Pole, if you will. Cypher Pole, if you will. And, well, spoiler alert, Rob Lucci, Khalifa, and Kaku are evil assassins. Khalifa was the character Iceberg, this man right here, was his secretary. But just like her, Kaku and Lucci, they were undercover agents for CP9. And just like for Crocodile, this was power creep to the finest for Luffy. It just, the whole Straw Hat crew in general, they got ruined. And for a while, because the Straw Hats were getting framed that, oh, they were gonna kill, that they're trying to kill Iceberg. The truth finding out that, oh, Kaku, Lucci, and them are actually assassins was just a sign that, oh hey, the Straw Hats are not trying to kill Iceberg. So yeah, this is just a really good arc. Goated as fuck. Enies lobby. This arc is when we were introduced to the entirety of CP9. And Luffy's just one of Luffy's coolest forms. Second gear. And third gear, but mostly second gear. This is where we got also a proper introduction to the 6 powers. Paper Body, Skywalk, Tempest Kick, Shave, Iron Body, and Finger Pistol. And it showed that Rob Lucci is just a menace of a villain. I mean, he got beat by Luffy twice, but in this arc, Luffy had to fight for his life to get that W. And also, we got introduced to Soge King in here. Oh, if only Usopp could have seen. If only Usopp could have seen it. I wonder if Soge King will ever come back. Please, Oda, bring back Soge King. Please. Sniper Island far away. But anyway. This arc also has Luffy get the world government flag shot down by Sogeking. Because it's Luffy now challenging the world government to war. He is now an enemy of the world government. And he literally tells Robin, "Hey, tell me, you want to live?" And Robin screams while crying that she wants to live and to get her out of Enies Lobby. And that's more than enough. More than enough to get Luffy and all them to really go off and free her. I mean, they were gonna free her no matter what. Like, if you go after one of Luffy's friends, they're all gonna go after you. But it was such a beautiful, beautiful moment. And just really incentivizes Robin as just one of my favorite characters. My all-time favorite character of One Piece. It's so fucking good. This arc is just so fucking good. And also Frankie joined the crew when we got pronounced as Sunny. Yeah, that's right. And also the Sunny died. Oh my god, the Mary having to be put on fire because she couldn't move anymore, and her apologizing for it, and that she wanted to, she could have kept going. Oh my god, I cried so fucking hard. Like, my god, I bawled my eyes out. Like, I hadn't bawled my eyes out that hard ever since Angel Beats. Goated, an absolutely perfect arc, an absolutely perfect duology for this series. Oda, this was so good. And now, post Enies Lobby, we got another introduction to Garp. We find out is Luffy's grandfather. We get a bit more showing of Shanks and Mihawk. Oh, and I forgot to mention it. Ace is in here. I completely forgot to mention Ace was introduced at Alabasta. And he made one hell of an introduction by destroying 3 ships. It's cool as fuck. I liked it. But we see Ace fight Blackbeard, and Blackbeard uses Devil Fruit power, the Dark Fruit, only to have Ace lose, and get taken over for execution. And here is where we see what Helmeppo and Kobe look like now. Luffy is absolutely proud of Kobe for this. It's just such a good character introduction, character moments for it. And we also find out that Dragon, the guy from Logtown that freed Luffy, is Luffy's father. The most wanted man in the world is Luffy's father. And such, with all that, it's really good. I think it's really good. Now we're getting into the Thriller Bark stuff. And next up we got another filler arc in the form of the Ice Hunters arc. This was a fun arc. It's basically just trying to get back the Jolly Roger, or excuse me, the flag of Luffy's crew from these Ice Hunters. I forgot what the family's called. But it's just so fun. It's just fun. They didn't want Luffy to know. I enjoyed it. But compared to everything else that we've seen up to now and going into it, it's also kind of mid. It's not bad. I like it. I would watch it again, but it's still a mid arc either way. And now Thriller Bark. We get to fight another warlord, people. And that being Gecko Moria, who has one of the scariest double fruits ever. He can literally rip your shadow off of your body, and he can raise the undead. His ship is a giant castle surrounded by walls, and we get one of the strongest crews up to that point for the warlords. Perona, Absalom, Hogback. I think that's it. I'm not gonna count Sindri, so she's pretty much Hogback's little assistant. But I wasn't a fan of this arc. I think Moria is such a trash villain. He had such potential, but all he does half the time is sit his ass on the floor, or he's just running away from Luffy while doing this little she laugh. It's not trash by any stretch of the means. I mean, we were introduced to Brook. We got Nightmare Luffy. And we find out that Brook is actually connected to Laboon. And we do get Laboon, and we do get Brook to join the crew. But after all, aside from all that, Usopp traumatizing Perona for life was funny as hell. But out of all the new characters introduced in the arc, Perona and Brook are the only entertaining ones. I'm gonna say this right now. Yeah. Moving on. Sabaody Archipelago. This was the turning point for everything. We got introduced to the worst generation. We got introduced to the pacifistas. Oh yeah, I forgot, we were also introduced to Kuma and Thriller Bark. Also, nothing happened. I gotta forget such a thing. And Moria still ruins his arc. Still mid. But anyway, go back to Sabaody. Let's say I said worst generation and pacifistas. We get introduced to Sentamaru and Kizaru, who literally humbles the fuck out of everyone. Bro was a menace upon introduction. Bro was still a menace up until now. But at that introduction, oh my god. Bro was just shooting people left and right with his lasers. He was just making easy work out of everyone. We were also introduced to the Celestial Dragons. Rayleigh, who is, just like Crocus, one of Roger's crew members. We get introduced to, Conqueror's Hockey by knocking everyone out just from his sheer presence. Rayleigh is him. And all the rest of the worst generation will also have some pretty good introductions. The Rogue Age is a giant Hulk man. Beji just sitting down with his men, eating a nice looking steak. I think it was a steak. Yeah, I'm gonna say it was. Bonnie just sitting up on a table, gouging her face in pizza. Basil Hawkins taking everyone's fortunes with his tarot card. I don't remember what Drake was doing. Long Kid just going to the slave auction, and Kid giving middle fingers to everyone. As Kid, excuse me, Law giving middle fingers to everyone. And Kid and Killer just go around and making a fool of themselves. And we do get to see these characters' double powers. Kid being able to take metal, take scrap metal and all that. It connected to his arm to create a giant Ooga Booga arm. Law having one of the coolest level fruits in general with the Appa fruit. Rue Shambles. Bonnie being able to revert or increase people's ages. Irogi going Hulk mode. X-Ray going to a giant dinosaur. And Hawkins be able to create straw things. It was crazy. Plus, Luffy punching St. Charlos. Also, this arc was the return of Hachin, and we got introduced to Kami. But the part everyone always remembers the most is Luffy's crew getting separated from him by Kuma, one by one, showing Luffy starting to get to his lowest point. He's not at his lowest point at this time, but he's close to it. Poor Luffy, man. This man could not catch a break around this point. And then Kuma just sent Luffy away, but before saying anything, saying, yeah, we're never gonna see each other again. Bye. And just for that, it's also a goated arc. Speaking of being sent away, Amazon Lily! We're introduced to another warlord! Described as the most beautiful woman in the East, in the world. Boa Hancock. And she is the Empress of the island of Amazon Lily. An island full of, well, Amazoness women who have never seen a man in their life. And so when Luffy appears, they are literally tugging at his cock, thinking it's a mushroom, because they think Luffy is a woman. That is the funniest thing ever. They got a whole line of women just waiting to pull his cock. That is funny. And then when Luffy gets put into the prison because Gloriosa, another character shown in there, says, oh, that's a man. They're questioning Luffy about his cock and balls. Luffy's saying that's his jewels, his family jewels. And they're all just like, whoa, let's cut it open. And Luffy's like, no, you can't do that. And then Boa comes, and we see that she's just unlikable. She's not a nice person. She's pretty much a Medusa, if you will. And that's shown in her Devil Fruit power. Her Devil Fruit power is the Love Fruit. And anyone shows the slightest bit of affection towards her, or has any sort of lust, I think in general, she just shoots with the Love beam, and they turn to stone. And that is shown when used on Marguerite, one of Luffy's friends. Well, becomes one of his friends, if you will. And so Luffy then goes into an arena, a coliseum, arranged by Boa and them, because Luffy has to fight her sisters. And the deal is, if Luffy beats them, she will free Marguerite. At least I believe that was the deal. But I forget what what happens at Boa. All that you need to know is that Luffy ends up winning, and he awakens Conqueror's Haki. Boa and her sisters know this. And then jump to the tub where Boa is, well, cleaning herself. She has a marking on her back, and Luffy's like, oh yeah, I've seen that mark before. And then Boa tells the backstory of how she got that mark. Her and her sisters have the markings of a celestial dragon. They were branded as slaves. And so she acts that way towards Amazon Lily, like as cold and cruel as she is, because of her marking. I forget the rest of the reason. But then we find out that Ace is going to be executed, and Bolo falls in love with Luffy, and so she is willing to take Luffy to impel down, and then to impel down, go and try to free her brother. Excuse me, try to go free Luffy's brother. So I'm sorry if I'm going to a deep explanation on this. I'm just trying to give my own thoughts and opinions on this, so yeah. All in all, it was just a set of Marineford and Impel Down, so it's an alright arc. It's alright. Now we got more cover stories to go over. That being the Straw Hat separation. We see what each of the Straw Hats landed on and are doing because of Kuma. And oh boy, there's a lot there. Chopper ends up on a tribal island where they're known to have some of the best medicine recipes ever for doctors and whatnot. Usopp lands on an island where he just starts eating food and gets fat. Robin ends up on a little area where they're building a bridge. And she gets forced into slavery to do that. But she said, nah, I'm not doing none of this. Nami ends up on a sky island to study the weather. Let's see. Frankie ends up on a futuristic snowy island, which was actually where Dr. Vegapunk was from. And Sanji ends up on Kamabaka, where he is traumatized for life, and is one of the most controversial things, simply due to what the residents of Kamabaka Queendom are designed as. Because they're designed as ugly men, all hairy and shit, wearing female clothing and everything. That traumatizes Sanji. And it was all controversial because of how Oda can handle representation. But I'm not going to get into that. But showing all that, it's also alright. You know, we're seeing everyone learn techniques and what they needed to do. Because they were sent there for a reason by Kuma. And I get the time when we get into around it. Now, Impel Down. Also one of the funniest arcs out there. We get introduced to a ton of new characters. Shiryu, who was the original warden of Impel Down, but got locked up because he started killing people for the fuck of it. Killing inmates, that is. I think guards too. Get introduced to Hannibal, who is really annoying. It has like an Egyptian headpiece thing and like a cane, and says, "Oh, I'm gonna be the warden of Impel Down. I'm gonna be the next warden." And then we're introduced to Magellan, who has one of the most busted devil fruits ever. But the downside is he has to be on the toilet for multiple hours a day. And you know what this devil fruit is? He has the power of poison. And then characters that are returning would be Sir Crocodile, Ace, but in flashbacks, Buggy the Goat, and of course, Bon-chan. And then another new character that's introduced to us, a good bunch of new characters, is Emporio Ivankov, who is actually part of the Revolutionary Army, just like Dragon. We're also introduced to Inazuma, who I think is gender fluid, because one scene he's a dude, and the next he's a woman, the next he's a man again. It's weird. And Ivankov say is actually supposed to be based on Tim Curry, but anyway. Impel Down is actually a good setup arc for Marineford as well. It's one of two things for Marineford. Because of all this, it's a really damn good arc. Really worth enjoyment, worth a rewatch. And also Blackbeard comes back. So yeah. And why is he back? Well, there's a big reason. We'll get into with Marineford. The arc people say is the peak of pre-time skip One Piece. Whitebeard, the war in Marineford, all the warlords appearing, ready to fight all the various different marine admirals. A Akuma fighting Ivankov, live streaming Buggy the Clown. And did I mention Whitebeard? I did, but I'm gonna mention it again. Whitebeard's power is so fucking cool. The whole point of this arc is, well, Ace is right there. Luffy, you can do it. You can save him. Oh, wait. There's some admirals. Oh, you gotta get past your grandpa. Alright, you got the Ace. And your Conqueror's Hockey activates again. Alright, you freed Ace. Alright, let's go. New Admiral character, Akainu appears. Uses Ace's daddy issues against him. Because we also find out that Ace is Gold Roger's son. And Ace hates Roger for this. And calls Whitebeard his father. And then he dies. He gets donutted from Akainu. Because Akainu was going to strike Luffy. It's such a damn good arc though. And also, hot take, I never cried or even cared when Ace died. Because I just didn't care enough about him. He was barely even in the manga at that point, around that point in time. And even in the anime too. But Ace died. Then Whitebeard's still around. He's getting hit. He's freaking out Akainu and everything. Garp almost kills Akainu. Gets held down by Sengoku. Then you have the One Piece is real. And then Blackbeard appears because he freed a bunch of people from Impel Down. And he got Shiryu to join his crew. They kill Blackbeard. Blackbeard somehow gets Whitebeard's double fruit power. There's so much that happens in this arc. The whole Vista fighting Mihawk thing. This most advantageous for both of us. It is a goated arc. Like, every stretch of the means. It's a very goated arc. It's a really fucking good arc. And Whitebeard is made such an impact that people still talk about him to this day. And nextly, you got the post-war arc. Post-war. Marineford is going to get rebuilt. It's slowly getting rebuilt. Excuse me a minute. Marineford is getting rebuilt. Rayleigh and Boa take Luffy over to the remnants of Marineford that's being built. Navy thinks they're going to attack. Think he's going to attack. But Luffy doesn't. He rings a bell. Throws a flower. I think it was a flower? I think he threw a flower. In the hole where people died. In a hole. He put his hat out. as a pay respect thing. Just got the markings 3D2Y on there, which all the Straw Hats know what that means. 3 days, 2 years. And then we move on to Ace, Luffy, and the new character Sabo's childhood. It's really good. It's really good. Ace at the beginning, when he was a kid, did not even like Luffy at all. Like literally, he would leave Luffy to be attacked by wild animals. Their mother, quote unquote, did not want anything to do with Luffy or anything like that. But Garp would just keep bring Luffy up to her and be like, hey yo, you're gonna raise him now. She's like, fuck you, Garp. And then with Sabo, the whole, just the Goa Kingdom, some, how to, words. There's a lot that happens. It's really fucking good. And then we see everyone in the modern days thoughts and reactions to Marineford. The Dawn is crying because Ace died, and she's blaming Garp for not doing anything. It's a really emotional thing. Really emotional. And now, folks, we move on to the time skip. This is where people start saying One Piece's pacing became trash. But we're gonna start off here with Return to Sabaody Archipelago. It's 2 years in the future. The Straw Hats are seemingly forgotten because they've been training in elsewhere for 2 years. Everyone has new designs. Everyone got mad because Robin actually looks accurate to the manga by not being tan, because that was a color error on the Toei Animations part. And how do we introduce everyone returning to Sabaody? Why have them go after fake Straw Hats? Fan favorites. Fake Luffy is funny as fuck. When are we gonna get the fake Straw Hats in the card game, Bandai? You know you can do it, goddammit. I would play the fucking max rarity version of that deck in a heartbeat. But the Return to Sabaody is just meant to show what everyone can do. Like, Luffy can use Conquerors and Armament Hockey pretty damn easily, and a little bit, and some Observation Hockey as well. But it doesn't get as good as it was until Whole Cake. Like, they're just ruining pacifistas. And we're getting introduced to characters like Caribou, really finished coding their ship so they could get down to Fishman Island, which has been teased since Water 7 in any song. Everyone's coming back. Zoro's actually the first one to come back to make it to the ship. It's crazy. To ensure that the Straw Hats could get away. Everyone who's been with them for the 2 years actually holds off the Marine officers so they could get underwater. It's a fun time. And it's pretty alright. It's not terrible. It's not trash. It's just meant as just a reunion thing. And then we move on to Fishman Island. Oh, goody gracious, Fishman Island. Oh, Fishman Island. And you've been built up for years, but ultimately, just terrible. It sets up a lot of lore for later on in the series. We get introduced to Joy Boy, Well, at least the concept of Joy Boy. We find out about about various ancient weapons, and that how the new character here, Shirahoshi, is the I think it's Poseidon, the ancient weapon Poseidon, because she could talk to sea beasts. We get introduced to the Noah's Ark. We get shown a a fortune from the character of Madame Charlie that Luffy is going to destroy all of Fishman Island. And all that is good. Even Arlong is relevant to this arc. But all that is not worth it when it comes to the villains of this arc. And Sanji. Before I get to the villain, Sanji was literally the worst part of Fishman Island. So, if you know One Piece enough, you know that Sanji is a pervert. He gets horny around Nami, Robin, just any woman in the vicinity. He doesn't attack women. But they took him having not seen a woman in 2 years and ran with it. By that I mean he nosebleeds super constantly. They turn that into a plot point of, he's going to die. He's almost dead. If he loses any more, he's going to die. It was so obnoxious and annoying. I hated Sanji so much in this arc. And I love Sanji. He's one of my favorite characters. But I'm like, bro, stop. Just stop already. Stop. Ugh. And then the villains. Dollar Tree Arlong Park is what I describe this arc in a nutshell. Because the main villain is a fishman who hates humans. It is named the New Fishman Pirates. Hody Jones, which if you've watched my streams for One Piece TCG, I play the deck of that same name, Hody Jones. And while I like the Hody Jones deck and the Hody Jones character card, the Hody Jones character and the rest of the New Fishman Pirate characters, I do not like at all. They're just Dollar Tree Arlong pirates. And the way Arlong plays relevance into this arc is that he's corrupting the mind of all the fishmen and holding all them to just downright hating humans. That humans are the scum of the earth. Fuck humans. And then when asked why Hody does this, what reason does he have to hate humans all that? He says nothing. Literally, he says the word nothing. He's just a hollow shell of hatred. And another thing that just makes him such a bad villain is that his strength comes from him taking energy steroids. Yeah, he's just taking roids to get big and powerful. And also he's weak as fuck because Zoro beat him underwater when Zoro was very close to running out of breath and he was just barely holding on to it. Hody's trash. Like, the only good thing about this arc is literally Jinbei and Luffy beating Hody, and that's it. Other than that, Fishman Island, trash. You set up a lot of good lore, and you did admittedly have some good moments, Other than that, the arc is trash. And nextly, we got Punk Hazard, and people will call this arc trash too, all because of Caesar Clown, the villain. But this arc is, in my opinion, way better than Fishman Island. Caesar is a goofy villain. Punk Hazard takes place on an island where Akainu and Kuzan fought for 10 days. Caesar experiments on children. He puts drugs in children to turn them into giants, all for one specific reason. Too soon. Caesar, I like Caesar as a villain. He's funny, he's goofy, he's not serious at all. Hody was serious and all that. Caesar isn't. And that's just what makes him funny. He's a funny fucking character. He's a funny villain. I like it. Smoker comes back and he still takes L's. This arc also introduced the Don Quixote Pirates, which will lead us to the next arc. But just overall, that arc is kind of mid. Arc is kind of mid. I'm just gonna wholeheartedly say that right now. And next up, we got the very first, the longest arc in One Piece, Dressrosa. Ah man, the arc I've heard so much about. It did so many good things. Made Doflamingo the main villain, gave us the Don Quixote Pirates, gave us Bounce Man, the Straw Hat Grand Fleet, introduced Isho. Oh, and it did what I forgot to mention in Punk Hazard and Thriller Bark, Land of Wano stuff. In this arc, we were introduced to Kinemon. In Punk Hazard, we were introduced to Kinemon and Momonosuke. Were very relevant characters going forward. So I'm gonna say that. So I'll leave that right now. Dressrosa, we were given more. We was given more of a Land of Wano stuff with Kanjuro. But the pacing in this arc, in the anime, is so bad. They're introduced, and it introduced way too many characters. Oh, excuse me, how do you introduced way too many characters. I get there was a giant Coliseum and tournament to get Ace's double fruit. But it was just too many characters to keep track. And I enjoyed the arc. Like, we got Law's backstory and why he's the way he is and how he got his devil fruit. We got Doflamingo's backstory and how he's a celestial dragon. We saw how he rules over Dressrosa. And his family members are kind of terrifying. Sugar is a terrifying member of his crew / family just because of her devil fruit power. As it stands, it's a good arc, but not really good. It's just an alright arc. Now, this is something a bit different. 3D2Y. This is meant to show what Luffy's been doing for the past 2 years at one point. It's him trying to overcome Ace's death. Boa's appearing in it, and we find a new villain by the name of Burndy Whirl. And we get a sort of introduction, sort of sneak peek to one of the things that Luffy could do. That being using flame power, using like a flame type technique in his rubbery attacks. We got, I think it was called Gum Gum Jet Red Hawk or something like that. And as such, it was really good. I liked it. And then going back here, we got Zoe. Well, that's more Land of Wano setup going right here. Way a lot of Land of Wano setup. Not only do we get introduced to yet another Land of Wano character in the form of Raizo. We also get introduced to the Minks. So like, anthropomorphic animals who can literally turn to werewolf type creatures at night, known as during a full moon night, known as Sulong. And the two characters, Cat Viper and Duke Dogstorm, they hate each other greatly. Where one rules during the day and the other rules at night. This arc also gave us the first taste of the Beast Pirates, known as Kaido's crew, Animal Kingdom Pirates, as they're also called. We also get introduced to the character Carrot, and what else is it? Pedro, who comes from Pedro, and we also find out that Sanji is going to get married. He's part of a family known as the Finsmokes. And so he leaves the crew to go off to that wedding, but he says he'll be back. He says he will be back. Also, this arc was also a setup for Whole Cake Island and Wano. The Wano portion being we meet Raizo. We find out that the Minks are friends of the Kozuki clan. There's just a lot of good stuff this arc introduced. It also gave us Nami in a purple dress so that's automatically good. As such, because of all the setup it does for Wano, and the sort of setup for Whole Cake as well, it's a really good arc. I enjoyed it. And now, speaking of Whole Cake Island. The arc where we fight our first Emperor, Big Mom, who, at the end of Fishman Island, I forgot to mention, was introduced, well, teased, if you will, because we saw two of her crew members, and she was on the other end of the Denden Mushi that they had, but she was all silhouetted and everything. She told Luffy, why don't you come to a Whole Cake Island? We could talk here. And Luffy's like, I bet. So Whole Cake, this arc is really important. We'll start with the Sanji part. What people don't understand about Sanji in this arc. People say he's a little bitch boy in this arc, that they absolutely disliked Sanji when this arc came around. But I want you to remember this. Sanji's family, the Vinsmokes, specifically his father, who's a piece of trash human being, piece of garbage human being, told Sanji, if you don't go through with this wedding, this man here, Zeph, you know, him, yeah, in his restaurant, the Baratier, yeah, we're gonna destroy it and kill them all. Better do it. Forget about your friends. They go through with this wedding. This wedding's going to combine the forces of Big Mom's crew with the forces of Germa. We're gonna be unstoppable. So Sanji has to go through with it. Because he knows his father will do it. And also, right now, he just doesn't know that. Excuse me, he just doesn't know that Luffy and them are on the island. So, you're in Sanji's shoes. If you're looking from Sanji's perspective, he has to do it. And he didn't want to fight Luffy, but he kind of had to. He didn't want to be a piece of shit, but he had to. Like, Sanji is a good man. Yeah, there are things that make him unlikable in this arc, but he's doing it because he has no choice. That's one thing people don't understand about Sanji in this arc. He was at his lowest. And then we get introduced to Pudding. Sanji's person he's supposed to marry, who has 3 eyes, tries to kill whoever she marries just because of the whole Big Mom thing. She doesn't actually want to do it. She's actually a nice girl. Just a lot of things. But this arc is just really good, simply just because it did so much. Sanji's backstory, Katakuri, Snake Man, Sulong's being introduced, Big Mom's an actual intimidating villain. I like this arc. This arc is really damn good. And then we got the Reverie / Levelly arc. It's a 4 like 2-3 episode arc, if I'm not mistaken. Where it leads into Wano, considering we're seeing CP0, so Rob Lucci's return. We meet more Celestial Dragon. We meet a real actually good Celestial Dragon who's actually not a piece of shit. And we're introduced to at least are we introduced to it? No, I think that's sometime during Wano. We get a lot of lore for the history of this world. So we get a lot of history and lore. And we see all kind of characters we haven't seen in a long time. So what's that? It's a Go to Dark. And now, Wano. Land of Wano. The 4-year-long arc. Kaido, Joy Boy, Yamato, Kozuki Oden, Orochi, Smile Fruits. This arc did good as well as bad. A lot of good comes with joy. Some good include Joy Boy, Basil Hawkins and Drake getting development. Well, I mean, at least Drake does. Kaido's actually a pretty crazy villain. He almost died like 3 times. I think this arc is actually really good. Come on, get there, you go. And lastly, Egghead, the arc that's still going on, but as of right now, it's goated. I don't even need to go into an explanation why. And there we go. Like I said, I'm ignoring this because I didn't think. I thought this was something different. Like it was just gonna be the whole Garp and Kobe thing. And then I just see the 3 brothers in their kid forms. So yeah. Well, like I said, that's all I gotta say on these arcs. These are just my honest opinions on these One Piece arcs. If your opinion is different, great. Let me know. Let me know what you also think of this list. And well, where would you put all these? If you could. Anyway, with that being said, I thank you all for watching, and I'll see you another day.